Welcome to the presentation on multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions is actually one of the easier operations to do on fractions, multiplying is. So let's get started here and just show you an example. Let's say we have 1/2 times 1/2. The procedure for multiplying fractions is you just multiply the two numerators together to get the numerator of your answer. So 1 times 1 is 1. And you just multiply the denominators. 2 times 2 is 4. And that's all there is to it. 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. It's pretty straightforward. If you think about what this means, 1/2 times 1/2, an example of that, what you're doing is you're finding 1/2 of 1/2, half of a half. So let's say you had half a pizza. Oh, that's kind of not a very circular pizza. That's okay. So let's color this a different color. So here's half of a pizza in red. So if this is what I have, half a pizza in red, and you come along and you want half of that half, I'm going to give you half of this red part right here. So we're going to cut this red part into two pieces, and you're going to take this part in green. Half of a half. So what you've ended up taking is 1/4 of the entire pizza. A half of a half is a quarter, and that's what you're doing when you're multiplying. Alright, let's look at another example. Let's say I have 3/8 times 4/5. I used a dot for times. Sometimes we use a dot for times, or you could use an X for times. So again, we're going to multiply straight across. 3 times 4 is 12. 8 times 5 is 40. So we end up with 12/40. Now from previous videos, we remember that if you have a fraction that you can reduce, you should always reduce it. So I see I've got 12 and 40. Well, let's see, what number goes into both 12 and 40 without a remainder evenly? 2 does, and 4 does. So I want to use the biggest number that goes in there, so I'm going to use 4. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 4. It's reducing. And I'll end up with 3. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So my final reduced answer is 3/10. Alright. Now, I want to show you with this same exact problem, 3/8 times 4/5, a little technique that you can use to avoid having to reduce at the end. And it's called canceling. Now with canceling, what you're looking for is you're looking at the numbers in the numerator, the 3 and the 4, and the numbers in the denominator, 8 and 5, and you're asking yourself, are there any numbers that go into one number from the numerator and the denominator? So let's say I've got this kind of looks like a 6 here, but it's a 5. 4 and 8. It's got to be one number from the numerator and one number from the denominator. So 4 and 8. 4 goes into both 4 and 8. So before I multiply them together, I can divide both of these by 4. I'm going to write this out the first time, although in the future I probably won't write this out in the next example. So if I divide by 4, divide by 4, then what happens is this becomes 1, 4 divided by 4, and 8 divided by 4 becomes 2. Now I multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 5 is 10. And notice I got the same answer, 3/10. I just didn't have to reduce. When I reduced, I was dividing the numerator and the denominator by 4 here. All I did was I divided these numbers by 4 basically before I multiplied them together. So the short version of this is you can either multiply and then reduce, or cancel, which is basically reducing, and then multiply, and you'll get the same answer. Now where canceling can be really nice is if you have bigger numbers. Let's look at another example. Let's say I have 21 over 25 times 5/7. Alright, so if I multiply these straight across, I'm going to get some big numbers here. I'm going to have like 105 over something big, 140 plus 30, 175. Those are going to be big numbers to have to reduce. So if I could cancel here, I'm going to make my multiplying a lot easier. So I see I've got 5 and 25. Well, 5 goes into 5, 5 goes into 25, and I've also got 7 and 21, so I can cancel both of these. I can do two different canceling. So let's do the first one in red. So I'm going to divide the 5 and the 25 by 5. I'm not going to write this divide part like I did in these examples. I'm just going to cross it out. So 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 25 5 times. I'm going to use a different color to cancel the 7 and the 21 just to show you. So 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes into 21 3 times. So now I multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3, 5 times 1 is 5, and I get my answer 3/5, which was much easier than multiplying out those big huge numbers and then trying to reduce from there. Alright, let me erase some of this and then we'll do a couple more examples. See if I can get this. Alright, let's look at another example here. Let's do more than one fraction. Sometimes you can have 3 fractions. Let's say 2/3 times 1/8 times 15/16. Alright, so in this problem now, I can cancel again. I can cancel any number in the top with any number in the bottom. So I've got a 3 and a 15. Even though the 3 and 15, they're not next to each other, you can still cancel them because one is in the denominator and one is in the numerator, and it's all multiplication. So 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 15 5 times. Now I've got this 2. I could cancel this 2 with the 8 or with the 16 because 2 goes into 8 and 6. It doesn't matter, whichever one you want to do. I'll just do it with the 8. So 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 8 4 times. So now I multiply straight across, and 1 times 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 4 times 6 is 64. And you should check and see if you can reduce. But here's the deal. If you do all the canceling here that you can do, you will never have to reduce your final answer. I look here, I've got 1, 1, and 5 on the top, 1, 4, and 16 on the bottom. There's nothing that can cancel here, so therefore there will be nothing that I need to reduce. That's another nice part. I don't have to worry about reducing. Alright, reducing at the end if I do all the canceling. Let's do one more example. Let's do 10/11 times 7/15. Alright, so 10 and 7 in the numerator, 11 and 15 in the denominator. 10 and 15, 5 goes into both those. So I'm going to divide the 10 and the 15 by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Hopefully you're one step ahead of me and you know what I'm going to do next. You know what I'm going to write for the numerator. 2 times 7 is 14. 11 times 3 is 33. So our answer is 14/13. Well, I hope this helped, and you should go and try practicing multiplying fractions.